you all for tuning in to another edition of Outside the Shop with me, your host, Daryl D. Lane, as always, where I get to talk about everything that I normally don't get to talk about. My regular sports podcast, Barbershop Sports Talk, which you guys can all find on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts from. Also, thank you to everybody who's tuning in via Twitter/Periscope, Facebook Live, and YouTube live stream. Share this wherever you're listening to your friends and family, and whatever platform you're listening to. Gonna have a great show for all you guys today. Also, by the way, before I get into that, check on the description below. Top 15 interior defensive linemen in this draft class. Check it out. So here's what we got today. Deshaun Watson, his lawyer, finally speaks. We got some QB news in the NFL draft and some QB news in the wider's perspective of the NFL draft. Kevin Durant returns from his long hiatus, and NBA tiers. So I got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about today. First, let's start with this. Deshaun Watson has made a movement to get all of Deshaun Watson's accusers to, instead of filing under the name Jane Doe, anonymous, because a lot of these women have been anonymous. A few have just came out and put their names attached to it. And they gave some powerful testimonies. I suggest you guys all check those out. But what he's saying now is refile and put your real names on it. And basically what he said is this is just a smear campaign. He's trying to prove that Deshaun Watson's a bad guy in the court of public opinion. That is what Deshaun Watson's lawyer is basically saying when he's talking about Busby and all this stuff. I don't want to bore you guys with the legal mumbo jumbo of this, but I do want to say this when we're talking about this. Here's the thing that is interesting. I don't believe most of these women have actually come forward to press criminal charges right now. This is just a civil loss, more monetary, and obviously it's hurting Deshaun Watson's reputation right now. I believe there's been some women that have gone to the authorities, but not specifically the women that are with Busby against Deshaun right now. I think that's interesting. I also think it's interesting that Deshaun Watson apparently has gotten like 50 different massages from 50 different women, and he's being thirsty on Instagram. So this is getting very, very weird, but I will say this. We already had a few women who've come forward and have given their names. I don't think this is the best thing for the lawyer to do in terms of tactical, and I'm not a lawyer, so maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I probably don't. But I think at the end of the day, saying, oh, put your name on it, like a lot of the reason why they have Jane Doe and people can file anonymously is because when you're facing somebody who's as powerful and as well known as the deep pockets that Deshaun does, you can have some protection. It's about the victim. It's about the person who's accusing you. So just so they can have some protection when it comes to this. So I don't think giving up that right necessarily makes any sense. And also when you look at this, why should they? Like, in what interest is it for them to give up who they are if they don't want to? Right? Like, that means then people can know who they are. They can search them out. A lot of these people have social media handles, Instagram, Twitters, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe these are people that they work with. These are different things you think about when you start talking about the legal ramifications of things. Next, and also, I do want to say this before I move on to the next topic. Why isn't Deshaun Watson speaking? Why isn't Deshaun talking? Like, we heard some of these women talk. His name's being raked through the coals. He talks that he wants to get traded for Houston, but why don't we hear him when people are talking about him being a sexual assault kind of predator? Like, Deshaun, keep it moving. We need to hear from you. In terms of pro days now, Justin Fields, Ohio State quarterback, he's going to have a second pro day. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are going to appear to this one. And I think the reason they're going shows that it's a done deal. Mac Jones is going to be the third overall pick for the San Francisco 49ers. You might be like, why, Daryl? How? And here's the reason why. He had a pro day, his first pro day. Guess who that pro day coincided with? Mac Jones on the same day. You want to know who you want to know who Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch decided to go see? Mac Jones. And they did not know that Justin Fields was going to decide to have another pro day. So this shows that Mac Jones is their guy. That's who they're looking at. I think this kind of also maybe shows you that Justin Fields is second on that list. And then third on that list is Trey Lance, in terms of, because we all expect that Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson will be off the board first. Next, I do want to talk about this. So we talk a lot about the QBs in this upcoming draft class. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones could all be top 15 picks. I mean, potentially we could see Trevor Lawrence go to Jacksonville, Zach Wilson go to the New York Jets, Mac Jones go to the San Francisco 49ers at 3, and then at 4 we could see Trey Lance go to the Atlanta Falcons, or hell, I mean, Justin Fields, he's a Georgia kid. Maybe he goes to the Falcons. We could see 4 straight quarterbacks in the top 5. And there was just a tweet that I saw, and it was from CBS Sports, and I thought this was really interesting. Out of the 14 QBs who were drafted in the top 5 from 2009 to 2018, none are on the team that drafted them besides Baker Mayfield. And that's crazy when you think about that. And we're talking about potentially having 4 top 5 QBs, not just first round QBs, top 5 QBs. And that little stat, that little just tidbit of knowledge shows you that, maybe there's better ways to do this than, taking a quarterback in the top 5. And I just want to read you the list of names because I thought this was really stunning when I looked this up. So you have, starting in 2009, you have Matt Stafford, Mark Sanchez. So Matt Stafford, decent career in Detroit, but he's now with another team. Mark Sanchez, bust. Sam Bradford, bust. Cam Newton, new team. Andrew Luck, gone, no longer with his team. Robert Griffin III, bust. Blake Bortles, bust. Marcus Mariota, I think we can say bust. Jameis Winston, bust. Carson Wentz had to get his team, got rid of him. Jared Goff, his team got rid of him. Mitch Trubisky, bust. Sam Darnold, I think we can safe to say right now, bust. Baker Mayfield. A lot of these guys were busts. A lot of these guys just quite frankly weren't good, which is crazy. And we're talking about right now having 4 quarterbacks in the top 5. Why? Why do it? If there's guys like Devontae Smith on the board, a Jamar Chase on the board, a Patrick Surtain on the board, a Caleb Farley on the board, a Penny Sewell on the board, a Micah Parsons on the board, all of these different positions that we're looking at, it's like, why are we so quarterback heavy? This the last decade or so, there's been no success that shows that taking a QB in the top 5 is of any good. There's been nothing that's shown that, right? So I just think it's interesting. And you know what? Maybe take Mac Jones in the top 20. If he's not there, so be it. Get a player at another position that you can help you right away. So let's go to basketball. Kevin Durant returns for the Brooklyn Nets. They played the Pelicans and they destroyed them. Kevin Durant went 5 for 5, 17.7 rebounds, 5 assists in 19 minutes of action. Listen, folks, the Nets are going to be a problem. So you're going to trot out, and also, by the way, James Harden didn't play that game. Harden, Kyrie, Durant, Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, Joe Harris. How are you going to stop this team from scoring? They're going to get like 140 every night. And as Kevin Durant gets in a rhythm, and this is how crazy Kevin Durant is. He plays 19 minutes, just comes back from injury. You know what he does? Casually, he goes 5 for 5, 100% from the field, 2 for 2 for a 3-point range, 17.7 rebounds, 5 assists in 19 minutes. Easy. Like, this is the type of talent we're talking about. And by the way, that just goes to show you how great of an athlete and how great of a basketball player Kevin Durant truly is. But I believe that the Brooklyn Nets will be a problem. And if Kevin Durant is fully healthy, I think, folks, we have to say this, the Nets, it is their championship to lose. So next, what I want to get to is this, and I look at my phone. So NBA tiers. So the last podcast I released, by the way, you can check that out on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all your podcasting apps and platforms. I had Scotty Johnson on. We did our tiers. Who can be the best player on a championship team, the second best player on a championship team, and the third best player on a championship team. So here's how it is, and I'm going to give you my list. If you guys want to hear Scotty's list, you're going to have to listen to the podcast, but I'll give you my list. I'll bless you guys with this little information. So my number 1 players, who can be the best player on a championship team? LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Luka Doncic, James Harden, Steph Curry. Also, by the way, people, comment if you disagree. If you disagree, you don't think any of those 6 guys are deserving or worthy of being these 6 guys of being the best player on a championship team. If you don't think they can do it, please explain why. Here are my guys who can be the second best player on a championship team. Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, Kyrie Irving, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, Bam Adebayo, Karl Anthony Towns. And then here are the guys who can be the third best player on an NBA championship team. Jamal Murray, John Morant, Devin Booker, Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Chris Middleton, Paul George, CJ McCollum, Zion Williamson, Jaylen Brown, Trae Young, Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry, Russell Westbrook, Kristaps Porzingis, Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, and Bradley Beal. And guys who I had who just missed the cut that I wouldn't be sure if they can be the third best player on a championship team right now are guys like Draymond Green, Brandon Ingram, Michael Brogdon, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Thoughts on the list, everybody. I just want to hear what your thoughts are, who you agree with, who you disagree with, who are some guys that maybe should be in the second tier, who can be the second best player that were in the first tier, maybe some guys who are in my second tier that should be in the first tier, or guys who are in the third tier that could be in the second or first tier, or guys who I completely missed that should be in the third tier, something like that. Please let me know. I want to hear your comments. Everybody have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. And also, by the way, check out the podcast that I'm going to be releasing tomorrow morning. Actually, we're going to have Ben Karen on, host of Sports Guy, the podcast, and we're going to dive into a bunch of stuff. I think we're going to talk some basketball, some football, some NFL little draft stuff, and why Ben hates the little guys as always. So, going to have a really fun episode of Barbershop Sports Talk being released tomorrow. Have a